Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ami's house, formerly known as
Buckle Up.
But here we are, rocking and rolling with a returning champion, one of the greatest of all time, guests of honor, Rabbi Harry Rozenberg in the house.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Of course. Ready to break the internet one more time?
What I love about you is you'll share an article. Like there was an article that came out like some cardinal in the Vatican was like, hey, maybe we should consider giving back the temple ornaments, all the stuff that was stolen from the temple back to Jerusalem now. And for whatever reason, the newspaper it's in and the headline and the picture, everything to me just screams like spam. But you're the one who reads it and you're the one who shares it, and you're like following this alternate reality narrative that's going on underneath the seams. And so whenever you share something, I'm like, oh, that's interesting to pay attention to. And I want to like experience everything that's going on right now, Israel, Hamas, and Israel, like through that underlying narrative that no one else is thinking about.
So thankful you said that. And what it really comes down thankfully,
It's true.
what it really comes down to is I started to realize that
Harry's in the quantum realm. Is Harry in the quantum realm?
it's a
Tell us what
serious
you've seen.
realization that we have the power. We're a partner in creation, let's say. We have the power to direct how reality unfolds. Humans, we're participants in the creation with the creator of the universe. So we need to plant narratives for us to envision, to use our imagination, to foresee, to imagine. And when we can imagine them and we start thinking about them, guess what happens? It can then become a reality. So before the menorah gets returned towards Jerusalem, it's crucial that it becomes in the conscious of our people that this has to be returned. So any opportunity I get to make this something that we think about, I will strike. So I saw my opportunity and I struck. I was like, guys, think about this, because our ancestors said it's inevitable reality. So if we think about it, we could actually become the reason it could manifest. So it's that collective thing. So I've painted a whole entire other storyline in my own head of what's going on and what could happen.
So
Based on instinct?
Based on my ancestors' writings.
So tell us that story. And start with Kanye. Like what you like, how was that? Was that a precursor to what's going on now?
Kanye's super involved, for sure.
Where's he been?
I don't know geographically where he's been, but I'm sure spiritually he's looking for his pineal gland very badly and wants to connect to his source.
Would you take him back?
Of course.
Yeah.
All humans can heal. No question about that.
Oh, man. That we're getting. The Jewish community's now going to hate us in the comments, Michael. We're taking Kanye back? Explain what that means. And in other words, what's his connection in I'm curious on couple questions.
We'll
You said based
zoom out.
zoom out. Your
zoom out.
ancestral writings that are giving you
Macrocosms.
insight into the current events.
Sure.
What are those?
Yeah.
And when you said you take Kanye back and his relation to this, I mean, Kanye might have just been somebody who just went off on his own sort of representation of, oddly enough, the right-wing anti-Semitism that's within our, like, he summoned that.
I think Kanye, as we the last left off, was chemically under attack and wasn't a free human to have free thoughts. And we know genetically he's coming from the Israelite diaspora through the transatlantic slave trade through the Biafrans, through the Igbo tribe, and he's trying to discuss it. So he deserves a little healing session with me, a little wake-up call, find out who he really is, take a deep breath, figure it all out and move forward. You got to cleanse the guy.
Right.
Got a lot of garbage in him.
Yeah.
So for people like that, I have compassion for. I can't judge him.
At the time I said, I'm like, I think this guy's having just a breakdown, and like it's all channeled in the form of toxic anti-Semitism, but not
They put
ideological
medications. Once there's medications and stuff, and
I'm saying it didn't seem like ideologically driven anti-Semitism as much as it's like, he's getting a show in a mask going, I love it,
No, he wasn't coming. He from his thoughts, I can collect that he has a source of love inside of him, that he's got creativity and love, and I know what to do with that. We know where to put that.
Right.
So his handlers aren't putting his love into the right places. They're like, so someone like who's filled with love, you can make them be very, very, very compassionate for the children of Gaza right now, and be very angry at the IDF for what's going on. But that's misplaced love. because really the Gazan children are being punished by Hamas, who's holding them hostage. And the IDF is trying to save the Gazan children from Hamas. So it's these little nuances of where we place our anger and our love that's very calculated. Kanye was a man who has lots of love, and his handlers were not plugging it into the right sources. Once his love gets plugged into the right place, it's going to go wildfire.
So, oh man.
No, well, I know what to do here. I know what to do here.
Well,
I have a plan here.
I have a plan too. Yeah, let's
I know
go.
what to do.
Yeah,
Let's hear my plan.
All right.
I have
I
4
want to hear about
plans.
the things that are interesting that I'm noticing about the way you structure sort of these ideas is like, so I want to hear about these ancestral writings that are generally informing
Sure.
your sense of reality as it stands today. But also, there's a part of me that finds what you're saying interesting in terms of like, you're seeing people rip down posters of children, but you give such a benefit of the doubt to the idea that it's coming from such a place of compassion, because what they really think is going on is this Israeli propaganda is trying to distract you from a tragedy in Gaza, so they feel they have to rip this down, and you want to redirect and rechannel that sense of compassion to the right place and not deny it. And then I see that, and then I'm like, you know what? F all these people. We have to defend ourselves. It's too much. It's too much to try to redeem and correct everybody. We have to defend ourselves from the monsters out there and the people that make excuses for them.
Well, listen, we have to do both at once because, like, I'm on the ground in Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
So that means on October 7th, when I was waking up, getting my stroller packed with kiddush, you know?
Yeah.
So that means I'm putting under my stroller cookies and crackers and cakes and bottles and cups.
Mushrooms and
You don't,
Everything.
you don't wait to go to Kiddush.
Everything.
Kiddush is you.
I'm a walking kiddush,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm doing a few kiddushes in Jerusalem and Shabbat. So I have my stroller and my kids. I got a little,
psychedelics.
I had a little mini Torah on me.
Right.
I was literally a whole package program ready to go have a Simchat Torah party, ready to walk out my house. And then all of a sudden the sirens come.
Yeah.
And I've been in sirens before because I was in 2006 in Sfat when Katyusha rockets were fired from Lebanon towards the Galil. So I know what it's like to hide under a table when there's rockets being fired at you and hitting the house and exploding. I've seen that fear. I wasn't so scared. I got a little bit more
Unfortunately,
like
you're
wakes
like,
you
all right.
up.
But
Yeah,
then
like
unfortunately,
maybe
it felt-
maybe
didn't
the
feel
redemption's coming.
Didn't feel
you know?
out of the ordinary.
Yeah. So the siren's coming. I look at my wife, my kids. We're like, wait a minute. We've been in Jerusalem for 10 years. We
There's
somehow.
Harry under the table with herring. Lollipop.
I'm actually vegan, so
Oh,
no
sorry,
herring.
sorry.
Yeah.
Vegan. It was vegetarian last year.
Well,
Look
Yes.
at you.
All my kiddushes are vegan.
All right.
I have compassion.
Soy herring.
Yeah, not the best
Seitan.
Kiddushes, but
The soy's not going to serve us.
Yeah,
We need the right things.
Okay.
But
Anyway,
nonetheless,
you're in the situation.
and so obviously I'm running into a bomb shelter. There's humans trying to shoot rockets at me and build tunnels to get under my house and destroy me and rape me and my family. So I'm like, wait a minute. IDF's got to go in there for sure. Our soldiers must go in there. My brothers must go in there. Stop humans from shooting rockets at innocent civilians. Stop terror tunnels and stop the whole facade called Gaza, which has become like just an extension of the Iranian jihadist regime, paying poor Gazans like very few dollars to be the mules and the front runners for their ideologies. So this is like a bad trip we found ourselves in. I think the IDF is going to do an amazing job at clearing Gaza out. I think that we need to immediately, as the Jewish people, have a strong show of compassion and love towards displaced Gazans. You know, that they should be put into care, ecological villages. Whatever it is, I expect my Jewish brothers and sisters to have a voice of compassion for the displaced Gazans as well, which you don't see as much, which we need to see a little bit more of. Be like, wait a minute. Are there kids?
Do you see a call for the surrounding?
Well, Israel's now like saying like, okay, we're gonna destroy XYZ neighborhoods, so everyone leave, right? And Hamas is saying, whoever leaves dies, and they actually worship death. They're like, oh, we want to die. Like if you kill me, that's my religious purpose.
It's a win.
can you tell? Everyone calls it a death cult. What does that mean exactly? I know
Religion
like
of death?
suicide bombings
No.
and like thinking more about the afterlife than this life. But do you have any insight into death cult phrasing?
Yes, I mean I've spent so much time in the last months in ChatGPT 4 learning about Islam and the founding of what's going on and what they believe in and like all their different things, and it really does come down to that there's a certain group within Islam that glorifies death as being the highest level of reality. To die for letting other people know that you have no freedom besides Allah is the greatest level of religious freedom they can get to. Whoa, that's a scary, dangerous trip.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to realize that
Hamas
all
subscribes
humans
to
are not equal right now, because let's say I live in Queens. That may mean I live next to someone who wakes up every day thinking that I have to die for him to find salvation. And that becomes a little awkward, and we have to have a human conversation
AF.
about this. Yes.
Yeah, there's no real compromise there. It's a conflict without a real resolution.
This is where the strong hand. This is where the strong hand has to come in, and people have to realize you don't kill Jews anymore. You don't mess around with Jews. We have the IDF. We have the Mossad. It's not a conversation anymore to hurt a Jew, harm a Jew, or to destroy a Jew.
And I think that's where a lot of the anti-Semitism pops their head, because I think most people are uncomfortable with that idea. I think most people are uncomfortable with the idea that Jews would stand up for themselves, because Jews are sort of like supposed to die. That's kind of the narrative that.
Yes, according to their religions, we were supposed to have died. According to Christianity and according to Islam, we were not supposed to be here today. We're not supposed to be in our homeland. We're not supposed to be in the most innovative place on the entire planet.
You are saying in general to the world at large that sees us as it's totally excusable for Jews to die. There's like Jews are supposed to be sheepish.
Yeah,
they're supposed to just walk into the ovens.
Right.
And the idea of us asserting ourselves goes against that perception.
Yeah.
And you're saying deeper that Jews are not supposed to exist. We are the we are like the stick in the whole notion of we're this people that survive in the face of these odds, and it doesn't make sense. Christianity and Islam were supposed to replace Judaism, and it just doesn't, and that shakes the theologies to their core.
Ruin their party.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so I interrupted you at death cults.
Well, we ruined their party, but actually because when you look at, somehow I made it to the other side of the Instagram algorithms, where it started throwing me into radical Islamic algorithms.
oh wow.
I loved it. It was really the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
I started getting into feeds of seeing what radical Islamic reels look like, and scrolling in there.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell you exactly what they look like. It's fascinating. You have the preacher, in front of the congregation, and he says, "And Allah will gather all of the Jews into their homeland at the end of time. Do you know why? So they will be in one strategic location where we can round them up and finally destroy and kill them all."
That was Nasrallah.
This is their whole trip. That's not him. That's That's all the whole thing.
This is what teenagers on Instagram are saying.
That's the whole thing. And so all of a sudden you got these the LGB trifecta guys out here marching for supporting the people whose doctrine it is to rape my people. I'm like, wait a minute. There's got to be a misunderstanding going on here right now.
Well, certainly in that case, in the alliance of the woke social justice sort of cult that's taken place, and and for radical jihadism, what they are looking at it through the lens of oppressed and oppressor, and that Jews in Israel are the white settler colonialists, and we stand with the oppressed no matter what the oppressed stand for. Yeah. Even though the oppressed stand for something that would kill all of those same people, LGBTQ people, women that would oppress them. Doesn't matter, because to them, good and bad are defined by oppressed and oppressor. People who are powerful and prosperous and have strength are necessarily the villains, and the people who don't have those things, who are perceived as the underdog, are necessarily the heroes. It doesn't matter what the ideologies are.
What the jihadi bully regime is doing, for example, is like all these people in America with their gender confusions and stuff and whatnot. They're all beautiful people, but they're all very confused internally. They don't have any self-worth necessarily. They're not feeling good inside themselves. Their mental health's not all there. Very vulnerable position. So all of a sudden, they're being hijacked emotionally. Right. So it's like we got to have conversations in America very quickly about this. And so if I run into an angry person on the street yelling or protesting, I'm going to have to sit down with them and talk to them and be like, where are you trying to go with this? There's fine lines over here, but as we're seeing, it's always just going towards kill Jews.
Right, so when you see this appalling behavior, anti-Semitic behavior, or excuses for atrocity or celebrations of it, my reaction lately has been, think what you want, we're going to defend ourselves. And you asserted, like, that's what we have to do. But now you're also saying there's this part of you that engages in a different way.
It's all fun and games until because we're here and not in our own homeland. You guys don't have the IDF protecting you right now. You guys don't have a plan. What happens if thousands of angry people start looking for the houses with mezuzahs?
Right.
And you know the let's say there's a blackout here and the power goes out and the banks aren't working and every man for themselves. It's a terrifying situation. We don't even want to imagine how fearful.
So there's a hierarchy of priorities of like what to prioritize.
This is national security to have these conversations to keep our Jewish brothers and sisters safe.
Right.
So that's why we have to have uncomfortable conversations sometimes for the sake of a greater comfort.
Right. But when you said like something along the lines of I'd take Kanye back and try to heal him, or these like greater
We need Kanye to win this war.
Efforts of compassion is
You don't understand.
No,
Without
I
Kanye, we're not winning this.
I understand kind of.
I'll
I
explain
don't
it.
understand.
Yeah, well,
Go.
yeah.
Why
Let's
do we
hear
need
it.
Kanye to win this war?
Yeah, the through line from what happened last, whenever that was
Sure.
it 10 years ago? How long ago
I'll
was
tell you
that?
why we need Kanye.
I'm
to win
joking.
this
It feels
war.
like 10 years ago.
Oh.
You know, yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
to now.
obviously just an example.
Yeah.
First, I'll just make a toast to you guys.
No.
Thank you for the tea.
Of course.
And I hope that the whole world will experience like tea, you know,
Yeah.
where we live a very luxurious life here. We have the luxuries of tea. There are children in Gaza right now who don't know about honey and turmeric and ginger.
Mm.
God bless their souls.
All right.
Okay. So the Vilna Gaon, you know, who I keep going back to.
You're a descendant.
Well, I'm a descendant, but
Yeah.
he's the Jewish people's benchmark for biblical prophecy because he was like one of the last guys to like take the writings of the prophets and let us know how we can anticipate seeing them unfold. And his writings were universally accepted by the Jewish people. This is why when you reference him, there was no Jewish organization that was against it. You know, sometimes there's a scholar with an opinion and the guy fought him. No one argued against these
He
opinions.
wasn't being condemned by anybody.
No, he was too smart. No one was smart enough.
That's
to,
great
yeah.
grandpappy.
There we go.
What's the book that he wrote? These how to see the prophecies in our.
There's a
future?
few. One is
Yeah.
called Kol HaTor, like the voice of the turtle dove, and you can get it in English online.
Yeah.
But I go from Oro Tagra, which is like the lights of the Gaon Rabbi Eliyahu, which just has like all the snippet bullet points of his main things. But
Cool. Okay.
he says a prerequisite for the days of the Messiah and for world peace is before the Jewish people have any of that is the activation of the 10 tribes. So now again, I'm circling back and I'm going to put on my sales hat and I'm pitching to you and to the Jewish community that we have to wake up and realize that the God of Israel is not coming to redeem the Jewish people. There's no Mashiach, there's no Messiah coming for the Jewish people. The Mashiach, the Messiah, and the God of Israel is going to come and redeem the house of Israel, the greater house of Israel, which will include the 10 tribes, according to our ancestors' writings. And now if you want to know where the 10 tribes are, we just have to look and see who says they're from the 10 tribes.
Where they at?
Where they at. And there all of a sudden
Chi-Town.
goes back to our, yes, of course, Chi-Town, Chicago, because you look in Biafra, you look at the Igbo land of 40,
Kanye's
50
from.
million people who say they're from the house of Israel. And you look at the Pashtuns of Afghanistan, the 40, 50 million people that say they're from the house of Israel. And obviously the transatlantic slave trade that brought these Igbo people to America. So this is the scattered house of Israel, the people who have it in their hearts, who say they are from this. There's just been no unity yet for us to realize we're on the same team. So it's like the Jew can't imagine that he's on the same team as the Pashtun in Afghanistan, and Kanye can't imagine he's on the same team as the white Jew over here. And none of us could imagine we're on the same team with each other. But lo and behold, we're on the same team. And once we all activate that team, we will be the strongest team in the history of the planet. And it will be a team of light and love and strength. So my main focus right now is not to worry about fighting haters or internet trolls or sign ripper downers or anything else besides what we need to do to get to our redemption, which is activating this network of the 10 tribes of Israel. For me, that's the only mission that makes sense, because that's the only mission that'll get us out of this mess.
How do you do that?
It's a great question. We actually have a great plan.
I'd love to hear it. So just to be clear, to clarify for the layperson, we are the Jewish people, but there is a greater unified house of Israel that has been scattered.
Yes.
When the kingdom of Judea and Israel, right? When Israel was divided, that was the first of it, right? Where it was Israel and Judea, but was there still tribes intact at the time in the days of like the prophets?
Yes, during the split of the house of Israel and Judea, when
Yeah.
there was two separate kingdoms,
Yes.
you had 10 tribes in the north,
And one.
and then Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in the south.
Right.
and you had because Levi lived amongst all the tribes,
Right.
and the northern kingdom made their own temples of idol worship,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't allowed to go down to the temple of Jerusalem.
Was this Rechavam the king upstairs?
Yes,
yeah,
Rechavam
yeah.
and
Yeah, that's when it's that. See that? I remember.
Rechavam
I
ben Nevat.
remember.
Yes.
I remember 7th grade Navi.
That was when it got juicy. I was like,
Yeah.
man, things are getting naughty up
I
in here.
had other things on my mind at the time, but yeah.
According to Kabbalah, we're still dealing with the repercussions of that exact fall.
Downfall of Rechavam.
Speaking down.
Rechavam, the son of King Solomon. For
Yes,
people who don't know,
when
this is
the-
real geek Bible
I
stuff.
didn't know that.
When the children of Israel,
You didn't
I
know?
didn't know that.
Shlomo's kid was Rechavam, right?
when the children of Israel,
Yeravam.
Yeravim ben Nevat
Yeah.
was
Rechavam.
Rechavam, yes, Rechavam. Yeravim ben
Oh.
Nevat,
Yeravam is someone else.
yes,
There's
he was
two.
the king of the north.
the
So
North.
there's Rechavam and Yeravam.
Yeah.
Two
How have
different
HBO
dudes.
not done a Game of Thrones like this? This is way juicier. But anyway, keep going.
I believe so. At the end of the day, that caused when there was no peace in the house of Israel, when we split up, that's what allowed our enemies to come in.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we kind of brought this upon ourselves through our own blind hatred of each other, which is what we teach, right? Why was the temple destroyed?
Sinus chinam, the hatred of the Jew. I mean, us hating each other is always what allows, and this is so interesting what happened in Israel recently. The internal infighting
Yeah.
left us distracted and weak.
I could tell you that for sure because weeks leading up to this massacre, I was in the government, Knesset,
Chilling.
working on. Yes, I was working on a peace deal with Afghanistan, which we could discuss a little bit, to enter Afghanistan into the Abraham Accords. You know, I was able to bring the president of Afghanistan's office to Israel, and they connected, and there was dialogue and talk. And while all this was happening, I was super optimistic because I'm like, wait a minute, this is the thing that we need to do to get to world peace. And all I could remember was how distracted the government was at the time from the mission I was trying to bring them because of the protests that were going on in the country. Because the left was angry and protesting and screaming and everyone was fighting and everything, they couldn't even focus on doing their job as being the light onto the nations. They had to deal with what's going on here.
Is the motivation behind the Afghan for you? Is it the Pashtun? Is that what you're talking about? Where is the tribe is linked to Afghanistan? You said that, yeah.
The peace accord is with Afghanistan would be essentially taking 40 or 50 million people living under radical Islamic
Taliban rule.
persecution right now and liberating them and freeing them.
What in what capacity they would be able to emigrate to Israel if they wanted to?
No, we would have to bring Israel to them, which is what we spoke about last time, and also what the prophecy says will happen is basically
Discotheque, what we bringing? Just kidding.
no, we have now. We're gonna roll out in the next few days or a few weeks is a map of the world where you're gonna start to see every single village that is from the House of Israel that claims or identifies. So the 30,000 villages in Afghanistan will be viewable to say, hey, these are where the tribes are, etc. And each village is going to have an option to sponsor, so to say, or to plant a seed there where you can open up a digital wallet and start to bring resources for them to go off-grid, you know, to make their own electricity, clean water systems, food filtration systems. These are very poor people with no resources who are being used by radical Islam for crumbs.
So that's what Afghanistan wants from Israel, and what does
The
Israel
people,
want from
not the government. The
Ga-
people.
And then what does Israel want? Why does the government have any interest in that besides for what we're talking about?
Listen, from the government of Israel's perspective, creating as much peace relationships with nations around them is obviously the most strategic thing
Okay.
of all possible, let alone the fact that these people claim to be our brothers. I don't think Israel thought yet about the trillions of dollars of rare earth minerals under the ground in Afghanistan that China and Russia are currently, looting and not giving back to the people.
Do these people feel a connection in the population generally to Israel?
Yes, if you look at some of the videos that I have on YouTube, for example, one is the hidden children of Moses in the Afghan village, whatever. It has like 80 or so thousand views. But if you look at the comments and how many thousands and thousands and thousands of comments from Afghanistan of people begging and praying for the Jewish people to come there, bring them love and liberate them, get emails, dozens, hundreds a week emails from Afghanistan, from Pashtun people who see my videos on the internet saying, please, my brothers of Israel, my brothers
Harry
of Judah.
following up. Email.
Circling back.
Circling back, following up. Ready to join Israel when you are. Just let me know what time works for you.
You think it's so funny, but that's literally what's happening.
Oh my God.
It's
You're getting
literally
it from interns?
I'm getting pressure from people being like,
Just checking in on this.
like often, and it kills. I'm like, guys, we're working on it. You know, like we're working.
Side note, just because I'm ignorant, like Pashtun. What does the word Pashtun come from?
Pashtun comes from the word pathan.
Mm-hmm.
The real etymology we want to dive into here, I think, is from Afghanistan. Afghana was supposedly, if you want to see the Wikipedia page that details it, was the grandson or one of the grandchildren of King Saul.
Oh.
And the royal family of Afghanistan traces back to the royal house of King Saul, and they've been ruling over, which kind of gets to the exciting part over here.
Yeah.
Because we've identified some magical secret weapon in the whole storyline. From the royal house of Afghanistan comes someone named Shaman Omar Ahmadzai. Have you heard of him?
No.
Shaman Omar Ayadzai?
Ahmadzai.
Ahmadzai.
Ahmadzai, for anyone who's
I
obsessed...
think he's at Ahmadzai on Instagram, I think.
Anyone who's obsessed with the tribal names of Afghanistan would recognize right away that this last name implies royalty from the royal family. They've been ruling over Afghanistan for thousands of years. And turns out Shaman Omar Ahmadzai is the world's greatest psychedelic healer.
Go on.
Comes from Afghanistan, from the royal family. He travels around the world healing celebrities and royalty, you know. You can't book a session with him.
What makes a good psychedelic healer?
Someone who's healed themselves, and someone who can accurately be a middleman for the universal want and your experience, and align those all in a symphony of music and love.
Good answer.
And what's
Yeah.
a good candidate for someone who needs psychedelic healing? If not everybody.
Someone who's not comfortable in their own cranium.
Mm.
If your mind is not your best friend, if you don't get excited about retreating into your own closed eyes, and that's not a space that you're comfortable in, you must heal, because your brain was designed to be your safe space. So if you're not comfortable inside your brain, you have to heal.
Well said.
Thank you.
Okay, so Sharif, the healer. He's the best healer in the world.
Ahmad's-
Yeah, bringing it back.
So he's making rounds, he's healing people, and he traces back to the royal family of Afghanistan? Is that what you just
From
said?
the royal family of Afghanistan, from the 10 tribes.
Do you know him?
I am so fortunate enough to have been able to meet him, because there was a story of these righteous Chabad brothers, these two Chabad brothers, who found him, and they started doing some healing work with him. And these Chabad brothers in general are using their money to like fight evil in the world, so they're hunting down like all the pedophiles and all the bad guys.
I've seen them on TikTok, yeah.
Yep.
Really?
Oh.
No, they're not
Like,
Chabad brothers.
Oh, for
like
example,
back-to-back
like
shit.
the
Chris Hansen. I'm Chris Hansen. Do you know
for
why you're
example,
here?
like the Lev Tahor cult, you know.
Yeah.
So that was like they got when they were taken down and arrested in Guatemala, wherever they were.
Explain that again for
They were?
viewers in particular. There
Yeah.
was a cult.
It was a radical cult of a bunch of people who were doing child marriages and some strange things with children, very unhealthy things with children. And
Jewish. They claimed to be a Jewish.
yes,
cult.
Jewish,
Yeah.
and they were
Sect.
doing some
Yeah.
really unhealthy things, very unhealthy people, and children were being abused, and they were running from world police around the whole world with this group of children, and these brothers had put their foot down and said it was enough, and they used their own money, and they hired a private jet and hired a private militia from the government, and got their own M16s and zip-tied all the men and brought them
holy
back to America on private jets.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that movie that just came out? Executive produced by Mel
Oh,
Gibson?
Into the Fury or something?
No. It was called. It was about the whole like child.
Yeah, I think it was something like Into the
abduction, child sex trafficking thing.
something with Fury.
Not Fury.
Fire
You
and
know-
Fury.
Fire and Fury.
Yeah, we have a big issue with that. We'll have
It
to
was
get
with
to in
Jim
general.
Caviezel or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was not called Fire and Fury.
Something like that. But it was about child trafficking, right?
Child
Yeah.
trafficking.
So nonetheless,
Okay, so these
But
brothers,
anyway,
these brothers.
These two guys.
so when
I
they
can't tell if this is the most
I-
confusing episode or we're right on.
I
or
imagine
right on-
them
I
living.
always land the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A cruise ship. Land the cruise ship for us. So now we're on. This
But-
guy's a healer. The
and
Chabad
the
guy's
brothers.
Time out.
The
Now they bring the.
They shut down a ring.
They shut down the ring.
Yeah.
take all the kids out, bring them to safety, security here, give them resources.
I had not heard about this. That's fascinating.
You're righteous guys not looking for likes on Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah. And then they brought Shaman Omar to do some sitting in the medicine with some of the 18-year-olds and up who have trauma.
Cool. So if
not only were they rescuing the kids who were abused by these pedophiles, they brought in the world's greatest healer to heal them.
Beautiful.
That was the context of how I met Shaman Omar. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting in the room with these, with the Chabad guys and with Shaman Omar. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do you guys know he's from the Lost Tribes of Israel? And the Chabad guy's like, what are you talking about, Harry? He's just a healer. And I look at him. I'm like, dude, you know? He's like, I know. I'm like, you're from the Lost Tribes? He's like, I know I'm from the Lost Tribes of Israel. I'm like, you're from the royal family from the house of King Saul? He's like, yes. And I'm like, and your mission is to come back and unite with my people and heal the world? Yes. I'm like, I'm so happy we found you.
I was good at small talk. Oh, my God.
I got right to the point.
And he knew. He was aware of all this.
He was aware of this. Mm-hmm. All of it. Every single detail.
And is he like a practicing Muslim?
No, he's a practicing master of the religion of the creator of the universe.
So he's not involved in running Afghanistan. He just happens to be
his family's from the royal family, so he has a claim to the throne, potentially.
Right, but he's not like he's not like a Taliban.
All of his cousins are.
Okay.
Taliban generals and leaders of Afghanistan, sure.
Cool. And he's allowed to just not.
So Thanksgiving is awkward.
Yes, if he goes to Afghanistan today, they'll pick him up in a military convoy and bring him.
He has pull there. He can navigate Afghanistan just fine.
Yeah,
cool.
And he's out here healing celebrities and doing. He was on what's his name? He was on Andrew Schultz.
Flagrant?
Yeah, you're gonna put up the clip.
He was on Flagrant?
Yeah. What do you mean? He's Andrew Schultz's shaman.
Oh, was he? They were just talking about being in Abu Dhabi. Was that having to do with that?
There was an episode that I want you to, in this episode, put up the clip so people could reference. It's Andrew Schultz sitting with Shaman Omar and Charlemagne the God.
Cool.
And they're talking about ayahuasca and healing and how this magical man's from Afghanistan.
So you're from Afghanistan. So what was that like? That's my Charlemagne. So wait, I want to hear about this because you from the Lost Tribe of Israel, right? Do you know Charlemagne?
Not personally.
It's time.
Oh. It looked like he was Charlemagne was like pre-trip.
Right.
Andrew was post-trip, and
Right.
Charlemagne
Andrew's
was
into
talking.
it. You could tell he's involved.
Who's not into healing, inheriting your mind?
Wow.
Yeah.
I gotta see the clip.
Let's
I didn't know this. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
He was on Brilliant Idiots, not
It's
Flagrant.
probably Brilliant Idiots. It was probably
yeah.
Brilliant Idiots. Anything that is Charlemagne and Andrew.
Saying that they have a
it's
show.
the same. It's the same. It's
Let's
it's
see.
their own thing.
We'll find out. But nonetheless,
Brilliant Idiots is the name
I
of
just
the
don't show. No, it's the name of the
I
show.
don't speculate. It's one or the other. Who knows? We'll have to find out. We can't waste time speculating in this world.
Right.
We can only
You don't want to go on the record for that.
I can't talk about things I'm not certain about. I only say things I'm absolutely certain about.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So now,
Okay. So
I'm
what
trying to
does
screw it up.
so what does he have
I'm
to
still
do
landing
with
the ship.
Yeah,
Michael,
yeah.
what was your plan? Anyway, yeah, keep going.
So Shaman Omar, thank God, one of my closest brothers.
Yes, Ilhan Omar.
So you're close now.
I would call him my ultimate brother.
Wow.
Yeah, we speaking very often and
Really?
regularly. Yes, of
Cool.
course, because the plan is to bring him to Israel to conduct ceremony to heal all these humans who have PTSD and trauma from what's going on right now.
From which side of the border?
Both.
Okay.
I love your question.
Okay.
This means our intentions, as Trippy.vc, our fund that we started, our intentions are we're going to be opening up a healing village in the north of Israel for Israelis experiencing PTSD and trauma. So that means hundreds or if not thousands of beds for people to be sitting in psychedelic ceremonies, 3-4 days and flushing in and out. So perhaps in a month we could be doing tens of thousands of people, ceremonies and healing people with Shaman Omar. But the goal right now is immediately to get the Jewish people together to pool together funds and resources and petition the government and Egypt to open up a refugee camp in the Sinai Peninsula for the Gazans, to bring Shaman Omar there as well, to conduct healing ceremonies for them as well.
So, all right, let me ask you a
That
specific.
was just a dream.
Do you plan on slipping Netanyahu some LSD in the process?
I had an opportunity to in life, and I chose not to because I figured.
You had an opportunity.
Well, anytime
I
you're
could say
around
the-
him and a cup of
I
water,
could say the
anyone can just
craziest
do
thing
it,
in
right?
Harry.
What
I
do you-
could say the
yeah.
crazy thing. Harry said, interesting you say that. I could
If you could shake a man's hand, you could slip him a
I was in the
tab.
bathtub
you know?
with Shimon Peres, Bibi Netanyahu, George Bush Sr. and Jr. They were all nude. Well, interesting you say that.
Put a little drip on your hand and you
Yes,
shake a
well,
man's
this is
hand.
crazy. My wife-
like a beast. Oh my
Yes, that is
Here's a
that.
big question with the
Yes.
refugee camp in the Sinai. When you talk about that, do you think someone who's in Hamas shooting at the IDF needs to be killed? Is he too far gone to be healed, or are you talking about children and literally people who feel literally trapped?
I think Israel needs to first open up a safe village for all humans, men, women, children, and no metal objects allowed inside. So that means there's no rockets in there, there's no guns, there's no weapons. They're basically harmless. They can't do anything without Iranian rockets being supplied to them. So at that point, I'd feel very comfortable taking a Gazan who hates me and throwing him 9 feet into a ketamine hole. And
This is one plan. It's one plan I haven't heard
He's
yet.
like, Harry, you're not giving me so much, right? You're like, no. It's very, very little.
Oh, figuratively speaking, 9 feet into a ketamine hole? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
Or is there-
he means a
I
very
don't. I've never been
deep-
to
a
one of
very
his sessions.
deep
I thought
trip.
maybe he has holes filled with ketamine and throws people in.
No,
You mean into a trip.
a very, very
yeah,
massive
it's-
amount of
It's a
psychedelics.
reference for being in the dream state. And you
Yes.
don't want to throw these guys right into the dream state,
do you-
disassociate themselves.
Do you think that you're capable of healing someone? That
I think it would be
deep
the
in-
greatest scientific study humanity could ever perform. Like
Yeah.
Israel's now talking about
have to wanna do it,
executing people, because there's capital punishment in Israel for the terrorism. To be a Nazi basically has capital punishment.
Right.
So if you're a Nazi from World War II, you would get killed,
Executed.
executed.
Hanged, right? They hang
Yeah.
them.
But Israel doesn't have. There is no capital punishment in Israel except for Nazis. That's when
I
that's
think
the
they're
only
now
time they-
saying, guess what? This is Nazi 2.0.
I
Right,
got
that's-
it. You're
that's
saying
where I
they're-
thought you were going with
you're saying Israel is considering bringing back capital punishment for terrorists captured in
Right.
Israel.
There's
who
been
committed
talk
these
of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're saying maybe let's see what we can
Oh,
do.
give
with
me
them.
a few on the side.
You want to take perpetrators of this and heal them?
I would love to just do a social experiment and see
Try.
if I could turn one of these guys into a hippie with dreadlocks, listening to Bob Marley and looking
You
to
may have
grounds
lost
and
the right
be a
to do
vegan.
that, though, don't you think?
Well, someone,
I think we should keep one guy at least for a study.
someone that deep
A
in it.
terrorist. Obviously, women and children.
Women and children. We're talking. Well, you have to make distinctions between.
We must stay human. We must be compassionate and filled with love.
So this
Must.
this is a real conversation
Yes.
because there's a lot of talk, and we were talking about here, like there's a time for peace and there's a time for war, and like right now is the time to show strength and to kill the people trying to kill us.
Every single building and tunnel needs to be demolished completely.
From 40 feet ground up,
The
40 feet underground,
down
all the
and
way
up.
up to the
The
sky.
whole thing down and up
Yeah.
needs to be destroyed because they basically Iran's been paying 8-year-old and 10-year-old boys to be digging terror tunnels these last 5-6 years. These kids aren't going to school. They're on speed, on drugs that are being provided.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yes, they're being given, these young kids in Gaza are given very dangerous drugs and being told to dig tunnels for like $1 a week, and they're doing it. And we got to stop the whole entire thing over there. We must make sure women and children have a safe place to go to.
Yeah.
We have
We're
to
laughing,
be,
but it's a
we
good
have to
idea.
be compassionate.
I
Guys.
understand the compassion. What I'm
Super
saying is to combat a culture
Yeah.
of deep-rooted educational
Yeah.
anti-Semitism against and deeply embedded hatred of the Jews is what you're also up against. That
Yes.
goes well beyond people who are just signed up to be
What?
Hamas terrorists.
Well, I think that
And a lot of people say, "Oh, you free Gaza from Hamas," but then you might be left with people very, very. We don't know the numbers of people who simply just want to coexist versus people who do support.
I could tell you
know,
what I think
I don't
based
know.
on my
That's just an unknown to
interactions
me.
with Arabs in Jerusalem, right?
Yeah. Can we talk about
I'm
that?
very excited to hear that because I've
Yeah.
never heard anyone who actually talks to Arabs talk about this.
Yes, I you know how like I don't hold back and I just say I just go.
So what's the environment, especially in the weeks
Tell us,
after,
tell
in
us,
the
tell
days
us.
I've been
after
doing-
October 7th, and the weeks
Yeah.
after October 7th,
Right.
between your Arab neighbors and you?
So obviously you and your wife have a conversation where it's like, okay, so we go to the supermarket and we check out, and the butcher who prepares our meat for us is an Arab guy with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
should we be scared now to order our meat or not? Does he want to kill me? Does he want to stab me? What about our taxi drivers that are picking us up, whose name is Abu Hamza? Should we be cautious and concerned? So we have to have these talks of like, are we safe walking in the streets of Jerusalem? That's what the first conversation is. And then everyone like goes out of their house and like lives in like October 7th and 8th. And we're like, wait a minute. Everything's normal here. The Arabs of Jerusalem love the freedom that Jerusalem has provided them. That means they have malls and the women can drive cars and they can shop and they can live their lives in a luxurious manner and have all these freedoms without the Islamic police coming to their door knocking because they saw someone who exposed an ankle. They love the freedom of Jerusalem and Israel. So the last few weeks in Israel have been extremely peaceful as far as Arab-Jewish relationships on the ground. So now when I'm in a taxi drive, I was like heading to the airport here. My taxi driver was Abu Hamza, whatever.
Here? You were saying? Or
No, from when Jerusalem to the airport, I have a taxi, and I'm like, all right, he can choose to drive me into a village and hold me hostage and be part of the master plan, and I'm like, so like, ask him like, what's going on here? We good? Like, he's like, those guys in Gaza are crazy. Those Hamas guys are crazy. We don't want to be involved with that. Don't associate with us with them. We don't want any trouble. We're grateful to be here. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So the fight is not an Arab and Jewish fight. You guys enjoy the freedom of Jerusalem to a degree. The issue is when Iran starts to take vulnerable, poor humans in Gaza and start to finance them and teach them an ideology that revolves around your reality has to be raping me.
I happened to see one of the most touching videos since the massacre, since October 7th today, was the story of a woman in Be'eri, it was Kibbutz Be'eri, who was rescued by 5 Arab men who were driving between the festival and her kibbutz, rescuing people.
Wow.
And it that one got me choked up because these men were like driving into, like, getting shot at and getting Israelis who had been shot or being shot at into their car and driving them away. Wow. And then they went to her and they said, we're not going to leave you. And then they approached IDF soldiers who didn't know what was going on. They asked her, are you kidnapped? Are you kidnapped? She said, no, they saved me. They saved me. And these were Israeli Arabs in Israel. And I think so many people looking at this in such a binary way don't understand first of all, the multi-ethnic, multicultural nature of Israel that everyone likes to talk about. There's Arabs that live in Israel too, but like there's proud Israeli Arabs.
Oh yeah.
Who are like, no, this is not the world I want. I don't have those conversations, and you do. So and when I see a video like that, it's like one of the most moving things ever because I'm like, obviously, I don't desire war and I don't desire conflict. Sure. I desire peace, and I want that. I just want to know that it's mutual.
What Israel also did was somehow these terrorists who came in on October 7th had body cameras.
Right.
And were filming everything they did. So Israel now has footage of these men doing the most horrible,
barbaric, demonic.
I'm talking about like pulling body parts off of humans while raping them type of stuff, like little kids.
Hell on earth.
Like my daughter now asks, like she's in this phase. She's been in a phase for a little while. It was actually kind of weird. Like before October 7th, she's in a big phase of like talking about people dying, like asking about dying. She's talking about who's Jewish and who's not Jewish, and she's afraid of monsters. And so I tell her there's no such thing as monsters. Then you're like, there's people who come out from under the ground and torture you in front of your parents and then steal you. Like these things do exist now. They're demons. Like how do you say to your kid, like?
Oh, so two things. First,
so
I'm first and foremost,
these kids are all on acid. First of all, Harry.
It's funny.
Cross out. No, just kidding. First and foremost, so Israel's taking the videos of this barbaric act. Okay, I'm gonna go to what you're saying, and they're taking the videos of this barbaric act and they're showing it to
select audiences.
No, they're showing it to, first of all, Gazans. They're showing it to Palestinians and Arabs and everyone is saying the same thing. Whoa, this is not allowed in Islam. Islam doesn't permit you the raping of children, etc. So what these guys are doing is like extracurricular evil, and so Arabs are starting to distance themselves from Hamas and the Gaza atrocities.
Like the West Bank and which Arabs are doing that?
just in general, I've seen already videos of interrogations with Hamas soldiers being shown videos and being disgusted from like Shin Bet from Mossad, and then Arabs in Jerusalem having conversations with them after having seen
Aren't
these
those
videos.
ones who were captured the ones who perpetuated it?
Yes, but some of them were just like hired and given very hard drugs and
Right.
didn't know what in the world was going on or what's happening. A lot of Iranian trained individuals came in with them who were like doing some sick stuff. So some of the people who came in were just like here for the drugs and and like the action and didn't realize that this was going to be
Or
a
they
satanic worship event.
Right, or they saw the gate go down and decided to loot, and they found themselves in this.
Yeah, for whatever reason. but
Whatever, not taking any.
When it comes down to my children and their understanding of the whole thing, because, I'm in a bomb shelter with my kids and there's a war going on, etc. The kids have an extremely strong sense of security. We have the Iron Dome. That means when the rocket sirens go on and there's rockets coming towards our house, they're like excited because they're like, oh, the Iron Dome booms are going to go off now, which means the thing that's protecting us is working. So you're here, you're in your room, the sirens are going off, you're with your wife and your kids, and you're all quiet, and all of a sudden you hear the sirens and boom, 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 4 or 5 huge booms right above your head. And we're like, all right, let's go back to, you were playing video games, you were doing a puzzle, let's all just go back to living life. And we don't hold on to the fear or the pain.
One thing I've noticed with children and processing world events is that for children, the world of reality, imagination, and fantasy are all the same thing. They all meld together. So for them, the worst things that they can imagine are no different than the worst things that are actually happening in real life. So for them, they're all processing it as a story. So everything is new to a kid. So if anything, for us, it's much more horrifying because we kind of now know the difference between our imagination and reality. And for them, it's like a story, bad guys and good guys. And it's easier for them in a way to digest the worst evils because when my daughter was asking about kidnapping, because I didn't talk about it, but she saw posters and she can read. I was like, and I was like, well, you know how when bad guys come in the TV shows and they say, ha, 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 got her, and then we have to save them? She goes, yeah. I'm like, so that's what we have to do now. We have to try to save those people because there are bad people who have taken people. And when she hears like that and processes it in this sort of in this sort of fantasy or a story the way she sees it on a cartoon, I think that's how they do it. And I think that's the way I present it to them in the way that's not going to traumatize their thoughts.
Like, I guess my question is really for myself. Like, now I believe in monsters, and demons. Like,
I think
demons are real.
They've been real this whole time, but it looks like what's happening now is we're going to wipe it off the earth for good. It's time to eradicate this mentality. It's going to end.
And then
that's the mindset we have to have.
And then your plan is those who can be healed, heal, and then join Israeli society, stay in the Sinai, go back to a rebuilt Gaza. What's like the vision in your?
I think Israel should offer people to return to like a Dubai-like version of Gaza. Where they build it up. We need to build like an international place of tourism over there where people can come and there's beaches and
it would be. I mean, I like to imagine this idea of a Gaza Strip that is like a beach town that Israelis can go in and go to hotels there.
If you look at like Yafo, Tel Aviv, it's like basically mixed Arabs and Jews. And guess what? It's a very peaceful place. And the beaches there have hotels and humans, and it's thriving and it's full with life.
And animals.
Yes.
Let's not forget last episode.
There are some rare animals that I've spotted over time.
Yeah.
And
they got it all.
It's a different hat I wear, a rare animal spotter. But yes, there's no reason for the Gazan community. We shouldn't even be focused on what happens to them after the fact. We should be focused on the fact now that no nation opened up their door for them. Egypt's not letting them in. Israel's not letting them in. Like, where are we going to put these people while we destroy Gaza? So it has to be something besides killing women and children. Please, for the Jewish people have to talk like this.
Yeah, you mean, yeah.
It's nice to be able to talk like that, and at the same time talk about, but we also cannot have a ceasefire, and we also have a job to do that.
Exactly.
At the same time, not like either or. At the same time,
like
it's very refreshing.
People don't realize this. Like, it's not a mutually exclusive idea. It's mutually. It's in fact one basically solves the other. You can only have peace and prosperity by eliminating the entities that are against those things. Peace and prosperity. Yeah. And Hamas is against those things. So like the principle at play here is that the only way to get to peace is to eliminate those who do not want peace. And Hamas is very explicit that they don't. They don't want peace for Gazans. They don't want peace for Israelis. They want death and destruction, especially particularly of the state of Israel, but of the West. So
they want to take hard drugs and just chop off heads.
So I think to get rid of them is what, if people who are talking about free Palestine and freeing innocent men, women, and children in Gaza, you have to talk about eliminating the people who have oppressed them, which is Hamas, which I understand. But I don't know. What else? What else is going on? Man, this is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where to go at this point. The mood on the ground in Israel. Have you done? I don't even know. I've never been at a loss for words, but it's so heavy.
I could tell you what's like next for us right now.
Yes.
Just saying very humbly, step by step, is we believe in the power of healing and the power of changing consciousness. So right now our fund Trippy.vc, we're going to be holding a sale of our tokens that we've minted in 2017 that represents
what an odd time where people were minting tokens.
Right, we're the oldest NFT project in the entire world.
Well, that was really, but even like, I mean, it's so funny.
It's
like
funny that you said that. I'm like, crypto. I forgot about
Yeah,
that. Is that still a thing?
Our fund exists on the blockchain. Ownership of our fund exists on the blockchain. So let's say our fund right now owns land up north in Israel for the healing grounds, and we own a healing center in Jerusalem. Few great real estate properties on our portfolio. We've made a few investments into Israeli psychedelic companies who are now producing all the chemicals in the Hebrew University laboratory that are needed for healing. So we have a very valuable fund, and we're going to be raising capital now to build out a whole healing village, like a city for thousands of people to heal. But the tokens that we're selling represent ownership of the fund itself. So that means people who will give $12 or $18 to support our cause by buying one of our seeds, it's one of our tokens, they're actually owning a piece of our whole entire infrastructure. So if the things I'm saying resonate with you, if you're like, Harry, we like this, we want to be involved, we want to support, we want to be on your team and go with you, we've created a way that you could actually own a piece of the land of Israel, own a piece of our whole entire infrastructure, be a partner in the club, help us support us so we could build healing infrastructure in the Middle East, so we can change the whole future of the whole situation, Bezrat Hashem, with God's help.
Beautiful.
But with crypto?
Blockchain is something that...
as a tech,
yes, blockchain...
the tech is still strong, you're saying?
The blockchain tech is the strongest thing ever because it eliminates middlemen.
Yes. And they're the only ones left on it. So it's
yes, because all these other projects came, took people's money and left, and we're like, wait a minute. This technology was here to free us. Right. We were able to do peer-to-peer transactions and store data peer-to-peer without relying on middleman institutions that could be potentially corrupt. So no one could convince me otherwise. Blockchain's the greatest.
So my takeaway is... right now, Israel's not chill, but we got to get it chill.
Right, because after you win a war, you have to heal. So we're going to win this war, and then we're going to heal. So now it's time to heal. Time to prepare to heal.
Oh, man.
Or is it time to win?
We
haven't won.
We're assuming the war is going to be won because the side of goodness
will triumph over darkness.
Always.
Oh, man. And I have an idea. There's another layer here that we haven't discussed yet. I think we do our first Patreon episode.
This one.
I think we take a pee break, and then we do Patreon episode. If people who want to pay for it, who are interested, could hear the deeper layer of what's really going on. What do you think? You stick with us for another 15 minutes?
Yeah, I'm always ready. I just need to have a bodyguard ready in case I say something.
Well, we don't have anyone on our Patreon, so.
Okay.
All right.
Could say something grim.
All right. Well, let's say thank you for being here.
Yes, this is Rabbi Harry.
This was like really Mina Shemaim also, because my wife told me, hey, I saw you posted about your grandfather. My wife was like, yo, Harry's here. You should ask him to record. And I was like, I feel bad, but okay. And I did, and you were down for it. So.
And once again, inadvertently, probably one of the most controversial episodes we'll ever do. I don't know. What do you think?
What's so controversial?
That we said we need Kanye to save the world again.
just things that were said, I don't know if you caught them, will be like eyebrow raising to the audiences. I promise you.
Listen,
And that's okay. An eyebrow raise is
my
the
goal
first
is
step into the into consciousness.
I
is it
want
not?
people to hear what I say, raise your eyebrows, and then immediately
And
go
open
do
your
your
eyes.
homework. Research everything that came out of my mouth,
Put
every single detail, and do your homework and stay aware.
Amen.
Amen.
Don't brush your teeth with fluoride.
That's Rabbi, that's Rabbi Harry. And that
On
is
Ami's house.
on Ami's
Yeah.
house. One of the first episodes, early guest. What a
Yeah,
pleasure.
man.
What a treat.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Returning champion.
There we go.
I'm still going to keep this
All
going.
right. It's your show.
Dun, dun. Harry.
Join
you
us,
must
please.
join.
I didn't even know we do that.
Power of 3.
All right.
I like that. Power 3.